Namaste and welcome. The ancient Vedic timekeeping system, which is based on both the solar and lunar cycles, is more accurate and surely more in tune with nature as a whole. If mankind does eventually end up on Mars, the Gregorian calendar will not work. It is Earth-centric and not universal. Sanjeev Ji is with us today, who has written a short book, an easy read on this subject. The book name, Introduction to Calendar Science for 22nd Century Readers. Let's welcome Sanjeev Ji. Namaste and congratulations on your new book, sir.
Namaste, Payalji. Thank you for hosting here.
Just before we start, let me just give a little bit of an introduction on Sanjeev Ji. Sanjeev Ji is an established entrepreneur who has built many companies during the last 21 years which have grown organically. In 2000, Sanjeev Ji also founded an NGO that helps promote opportunities for the underprivileged. This has touched 750,000 lives over the past 20 years. Commendable work, sir.
Thank you.
Let's get straight into the conversation about this, the ancient Vedic timekeeping system. Before we try to understand it further, give us your reasons on why you wrote this book and why you think it's important that people understand the differences and why it may have an opportunity in the future to be used again.
Thank you. Basically, just to give a quick motivation behind this book, last summer I was talking with my daughter who lives in the dorm now. She's in the college graduation program, and Diwali was coming in next month, and she also had her intern exam around that time. And we were discussing about if she would have time to come and visit us during Diwali festival. And she showed her frustration, like why Diwali keeps changing every year. Why can't it be fixed like Thanksgiving or Christmas, like it comes on a same day? And that got me inspired to help her and kids her age to understand how the Indian festival work. And it's not random. They don't ship as per the Vedic calendar. They ship as per the correlation between Gregorian calendar and Vedic calendar, synchronization differences between sun driven and moon driven. So I wanted to explain that to her so that she can understand, not just her, but kids her age, the today's youth need to understand the science, and that motivated me to do some more research and come up. That's the outcome of that research is this book, which is meant to be an introduction for the next generation to understand how scientific and accurate the Vedic calendar timekeeping system is. So
Interesting. My parents, of course, they do fastings and things like that, and they keep to that calendar. So I have a bit of an idea on the. Is that the same? Where you have Ekadashi and all of the rest of it. So are we talking about this exact same calendar, or is there some differences?
it's the same calendar, Vedic calendar, which is known as Panchang, and we will get into the details of Panchang. It's basically Panch means five and Anga means limbs, so it has a five components. The beauty of Vedic timekeeping system is it is defined using the sun. Seasons are driven by the sun, and the months are driven by the moon, and the day is driven by the combination of sun and moon movement together. That's a unique calendar in the world, the timekeeping system in the world. There are many timekeeping system, as we all know, Gregorian system being the most widely used, which solely depends on the sun. Uh, it's tropical sun year they use, and that's why it creates challenges which we will discuss as we go through. But the Vedic calendar is the unique in terms of making a true astronomical calculation based observations over the period of centuries, that takes the knowledge of moon sun earth relationship and takes into the geographical component of location of where the calendar is being used, and it drives the day. It is driven by the combination of sun and moon. Month is always fixed 30 days, no arbitrary 31, 28, 30 like that. And it is very easy to follow. As we go through, we'll explain some benefits of it as we make through progress.
No, yeah, no, no, I was just saying, so just to give a little bit more detail about the actual timekeeping system. You're saying it's based on the solar and the lunar. It also um, it considers the astrological. Is this the planetary aspect as well? It considers.
Yes, basic concept is it's a great combination of sun, moon, and the five components are as the lunar day, which is known as Tithi, Var, which is a solar day, and Karana, which is a half of a lunar day, the half of a Tithi, and Yoga, which is a combination of sun and moon movement at any given time and position. And the last one, which is called Nakshatra, like in zodiac sign in Gregorian calendar, they have 12 zodiac sign. In Vedic timekeeping system, there are 27 nakshatras, which are lunar constellations, where ancient Vedic seers have observed that moon is at different nakshatra every night, and a common man just looking at the moon would be able to guess what day of month it is based on it is waxing or waning or the shape of moon. That would have been easy. So the Vedic calendar timekeeping is the great combination of simplicity for the everyday use for the month and day, and complex in terms of adjusting the seasons and festivals. And the seasons are known as rutus in timekeeping system, but those are driven by the mostly the sun. So it is a good combination of both.
So, would you have the Gregorian months, or would it be the months based on the lunar, which is just 14 days, right? So, how would the calendar work in respect to just a simplistic? It seems very complicated, by the way, in how it's all put together, and complicated and deep, and probably accurate for that reason. But in respect to simplistic viewpoint for us, how would the calendar look? 14 days, 30 days, like you said. How many months in the year? How would that work?
So the perfect beauty of Vedic timekeeping, it kept the month are driven by the moon, so waxing and waning. So it's always 30 day in each month, but that leads to 354 days in a lunar year, and the solar year, which is at 365. To be exact, various siddhantas in Vedic timekeeping, you will find they range from 365 days, 6 hours, 12 minutes, and there is a difference in the last second part. Like Surya Siddhanta says it's 36.56 second, versus Laghu Siddhanta refers it to 30 seconds, or Siddhanta Shiromani calls it 9 seconds. So there is only a fraction difference in terms of definition of a year versus the Gregorian, which says 365, and every 4 year they add 1 day to sync up the sun moment to adjust the tropical year. But that in itself has a complexity in Gregorian calendar, that there is a error that is acceptable today. We are living with that known error that every 3,000 year, roughly 3,300 years, there will be a error of 1 day. We'll have to just omit, or something needs to be done. I don't know what they have decided to do about it, but there is going to be a known error of 1 day in 3,300 years in Gregorian calendar. In Vedic calendar, the system is simplicity from the moment of a moon, which are visible to ordinary eye. The adjustment is also done, which is called Adhik Masa. So every 3 year, there will be a one additional month added because of the 11-day difference between the moon year and the sun movement created the 11-day difference every year. That is adjusted by adding a fixed one additional month every 3 year. That is known as Adhik Masa, and that takes care of keeping the sun season and the moon months adjusted in sync forever.
Wow, interesting. So, what are the benefits, of this system? Do you feel versus the Gregorian? Of course, you mentioned the accuracy aspect, and that's really interesting on how you said you can actually keep an eye because of the moon and how the moon looks. So you don't need something there written. You can just look at the moon, which I think is really amazing. But what else are the benefits you feel in maybe switching, hopeful thinking
Absolutely.
to the Vedic ancient time?
Absolutely. So Payalji already captured the very basic benefit, that the ease of use for the ordinary man. They don't need scientific calculation. Nobody needs to remember whether it's 30 day, 28 day, or 31 days. It's simply looking at the moon. They can say whether it's waxing or waning, and everybody know. Those who observe the moon knows the shape of moon varies during the waxing phase and waning phase, and it was meant to be easy for day to day usage. At the same time, the seasons which were adjusted aligned in terms of the exact calculate. The beauty of Vedic timekeeping, the tithis, the calculations of the nakshatra movement and var and tithi, that goes back where you have ability to go back millions of year ago or the millions of year ahead, and you will still have an exact calculation without much error. As we have to remember, in terms of Gregorian calendar, it is not as accurate as Vedic timekeeping. That's the biggest benefit. And of course, there are additional advantage about these adjustments are not needed, which are like arbitrary adjustments have been made in Gregorian calendar over the period of time. The latest one that we are using, Julius Caesar Western calendar, Julian calendar, it started with 365 days, divided into 12 months, and then they realized that is not good enough because it is creating a problem. The 6 hours, 12 minutes, and 36 seconds are not getting counted. So they came up with the rule of adding every fourth year, add one day into February, and then again it added. Oh, if it is divided by 4, then only add. But if it is divided by, so the, as you can see, the Gregorian calendar also kept on evolving, and it has not evolved to the level of accuracy of what Vedic calendar is already providing. The only sad part is not being used. That's why it sounds like difficult now. But until the invasion by the Islams and the British invasion followed by that, it was widely used and it was very easy. Just like what we are referring today, the date in Gregorian calendar, that's how the society used to live back then. So if we start adopting that calendar and start using it more in the day-to-day business activity, the fear of it sounding complex right now, that could go away very easily. That's my thought
Hmm.
in that.
I guess it says
So
something which is unknown, or at least to, and so it's a fear of the unknown, really, right? So once you start using it, you just adjust to it and adapt to it.
yeah, we
But
adopted
on the
Gregorian
aspect
calendar.
of also, yeah, yeah, exactly. When we'll go into the Gregorian calendar in a little bit, just wanted to add one other question on the benefits, which is um, how our bodies work and things being in nature. Things like Ekadashi. There's certain things in our philosophy that we follow according to the calendar, right? So, would you like to mention, how important that is, and not forgetting about the lunar cycle in respect to our bodies and the benefits?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great point, Payalji. Like if we look at the ancient Vedic, the old times, the rituals and the science was and rituals were all intertangled, and that was like not easy to separate. But the lifestyle itself was derived from the basic scientific principle that were easy for people to follow. So they were saying, do the fasting on Ekadashi or do the fasting on Chaturthi. Ekadashi is nothing but the 11th day, and Chaturthi is the fourth day for the moon waxing and waning phases of the moon. If today everybody knows the high tide is caused on the full moon day because of the moon's impact on the water body on earth, so everybody accepts that as a scientific fact, that the water body on earth, the biggest water body on earth, the ocean, get impacted by the gravitational force of a moon to create the high tide on the full moon day. Ancient Indians have found out observation that on the humans are also made up of 70% water in our body, and they had figured out a way by means of their research and constant observation that if one were to have most effect on body cleansing, Ekadashi, the 11th day, and the Chaturthi, the fourth day, if you avoid eating heavy food, or preferably if you do the fasting, your body benefits a lot by having fasting on that. Now everybody is talking about intermittent fasting and all those things, which are nothing but very known to the ancient people. And in fact, they have come up with the observation like which are the most effective days to do the fasting to get the best reward for your body recovery or keeping your body healthy. And that's how the Ekadashi, fasting on Ekadashi and fasting on Chaturthi were promoted. And it was given a choice for people, those who follow. That's how the religion got mixed. We call the religion in terms of, first of all, the Sanatan Dharma is not same as what Abrahamic religions are being compared. That's not a fair comparison. Sanatan Dharma is a way of life. So Ekadashi and Chaturthi was considered as a day for fasting. The reason, the scientific reason behind that was if somewhere someone to do the fasting on this, the body is more receptive to cleansing on those days, and the moon's effect is also helping body get the more benefit of those versus somebody doing fasting on some other day. That was their observation. Now, today's generation has a duty to figure it out what they did and do more research. Maybe we'll come up with some other points. Maybe we'll find something need to be changed over the period of time because the nature has changed. That is absolutely that's my whole purpose of writing this book, is to encourage the next generation or youth to do your own research. Don't take this or don't discard this at face value, or don't discard because it sounds religious, because there are a lot of people who have created, because of their hatred towards Sanskrit or hatred Hindu phobia, they just create bad thing. And I'm trying to separate that nonsense from the science. This science is beneficial to the entire universe, irrespective of which religion, which geography you are. This is
Indeed.
a pure timekeeping science.
Indeed. I think, yeah, I think it's such a good point you just made. I think we need to just experiment. You know, if you don't believe or you want to just, instead of just discarding, right, some of the patterns or the lifestyles from the Sanatan Dharma, is it's, you know, even if you are not sure, at least experiment. You know, maybe fast, do Ekadashi for a month or two, see how that makes you feel. Does it, you do see a difference? Experiment with it, right? I think that's the most you can do. Like, you know, and then make up your mind. So yeah, really, really interesting. Shall we move
And
on to some then why and when the Gregorian calendar system came about, and just tell us more how the world adopted it, and why you think it is. I mean, you already mentioned this. The less it's less accurate, and the it's not universal. I know, as I mentioned in my introduction, it's not centric. So yeah, a little bit more about the Gregorian calendar and why the world adopted it.
Thank you, Payalji. My what research I have done. So when I spent thousands of hours researching the timekeeping systems and all that while writing, compiling this short book. What I came to know, and I think it has more to do with political or the situation back then. The whole world was like at one time they were saying that the sun never sets on the British Empire, and British Empire had adopted this timekeeping for their own benefit of learning, for ruling wherever they were running the countries. All countries they made this new their timekeeping, which was Gregorian system, to be used wherever they had ruled, and that's how it became widespread. Just like no different than why world speak English more today than compared to, even though the English language may have serious flaws as compared to Sanskrit, it is much imperfect as compared to Sanskrit, but then again it becomes a controversial topic. Why it got adopted? Because it was some convenience of the rulers to control uh, their empire, and that forced world to use. And then after, that's how it started, and later on it becomes the currency drive the culture, or the market drive the culture, and that's how it kept on expanding and it never went back, except for the small
So how many
portion.
years? How many? How many years is this then? Would you say when the start of the empire? When would you kind of guess if you're not sure?
So if we look at the, even that based on the adjustments and all, the 15th century was the last major change in Gregorian calendar system, in terms of adoption changes from their correction, and the 17th century brought it more to India in specific. And where if you look at the, whether Africa or other Asian countries, wherever the Britishers went, you will see within few years of them ruling that place, the that local calendars have vanished or got subdued, and the Gregorian system had taken over in all those places, including India.
Hmm. So I, of course, around the world, you just mentioned Africa. So they would have had their own timekeeping system. Would it have just been very decentralized, the whole timekeeping system before then? Would you guess?
Like a lot of cultures had their own calendaring system. The good part is most of the world calendar systems, whether it's a Hijri calendar from Islam or the Buddhist calendar, all those, most of those are moon driven calendars. There are some like the Gregorian European philosophy based on the sun calendar. Vedic timekeeping is the only system that has a good combination of sun and moon motions influencing the exact accuracy. That's why it is most accurate, because it's not looking at one simplistic view
Interesting.
like many all other calendar system has taken.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah. Um, yeah, because I guess we should, see which, if there is anything, which would be, not just the Vedic, but if there are any around the world, which also would be apt, for the future.
And in the
But
book,
if
I
you're
have tried
saying
to
this, exposure.
Yeah, and in the book, I try to explain some other world calendar timekeeping system also. So that, and my main
Okay.
purpose was, I'm just a student of this timekeeping. I'm not claiming myself to be an expert anything, but I want others to get interested and do their own research. I'm openly saying, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. I enjoyed my research of reading, and I learned a lot about it. My daughters and my friends, they also learned about this, and they, everybody I have shown the proof draft copy, they are so excited to see this book. And there are so many questions that were raised when we're talking, like if we take simple examples about Gregorian calendar, why does the, it is a calendar that is supposed to be, that is based on the sun, but the days start in the middle of the night.
Mm.
Why? Nobody knows. Seasons start at the third week of a month. Their own seasons cannot be aligned with their own months. Why? Nobody's asking that question. But if you look at Vedic timekeeping, every month start at the, depending on which region you are, at the first new moon day or the after the full moon day. So there are like two traditions of timekeeping where the month starts at the first day of after the full moon, or first day after the no moon, the new moon. If you look at Gregorian calendar, the season again starting somewhere in the middle of the month, third week of month. Then New Year start on January. There is no special significance of that day in terms of astronomical positions of sun and earth. I'm talking. If you look at the Vedic timekeeping, it has a very clear definition. The day is equal to night, and the sun is equinox and equatorial position. There is a clear season definition of sun astronomical position based New Year starting, where the spring is beginning. The beginning of new life is a new year. Very simple and clear method of explaining the detail. The accuracy, as I mentioned, the Vedic ancient people were fighting for the fraction of second. Nobody doubted that it is 365 days, 6 hour, 12 minute. They were fighting whether it is 36.56 seconds or 36 seconds or 31 second or 30 seconds. Look at the time accuracy they were discussing way beyond. Even today, the Gregorian calendar just blindly says it is 365.20, 365 days and 6 hours.
Mm.
That's where we
Yeah,
need to focus on and learn
fascinating.
the good part of the system and leverage it to derive the
Mm.
next frontier for our mankind progress.
Mm. So yeah, so what, in a nutshell, what would you say? How could it be applicable in the future? Whether in Bharat, let's start with Bharat. I think, let's be practical, and then of course, if the world feels a need to also embrace it, but in Bharat, how would you say um, people should embrace the Vedic system?
If enough Bhartiyas start using this system and start learning the system, first of all, they would understand that there is a span of 25,000 years where the North Pole itself could shift. It's well documented in Vedic ancient Siddhantas and script about North Pole being not a fix but changing, and that also affect the seasons over the period of time. So people will understand why suddenly now everybody blindly, oh, we are so used to seeing this is climate change is happening, season is changing, this is happening. People have no clue why it is happening, but I'm not saying this is the only answer, but knowing that season could change over the time gives a good understanding. That's one step. Simple.
Mm.
Another example is just by having practice in terms of knowing the timekeeping principle, and it's beneficial in terms of the other aspect of the nature connectivity helps you live a better life, like fasting on Ekadashi is a good example, or
Mm.
not taking heavy food, or having the day starting at sunrise versus midnight. Knowing these small things makes a difference in terms of how we live our life. That is what, that is all the Hindu Sanatan Dharma is about: living life better for everyone, irrespective of their faith. So having this Vedic timekeeping system reactivated in the day-to-day life would have a better understanding about in subconscious mind of people that yes, Ekadashi is coming. I should be thinking about not eating too much. I'm giving a simple example. Or the spring is coming, or the what they call blue moon, or the Diwali is going to come because it's the blue moon is coming. Like so, it makes a lot easier in terms of understanding of your own culture, because that is culture. Festivities are tied to the Vedic calendar, not to the Gregorian calendar. And youth get lost. Today's youth get lost because they have
Absolutely.
no connectivity with this Vedic calendar, and they're only trying to see it through the Gregorian calendar, and they get lost and they say, "What is this nonsense?"
Mm.
That's the disconnect we need to overcome by having it in practice, so they don't think that this is a nonsense.
So where does one learn? Like where would you say we have your book, of course, now, and but if someone is interested to learn further than your book, where would you advise them to go and find information and really learn, and learn about the calendar and what um, anything they may want to follow or experiment?
Fortunately, with this new age of internet and translation, accessing information has become a little easier as compared to old days. If somebody would want to learn, I would strongly recommend them to go go to the original Siddhantas and their translation, not the interpretations, because there are a lot of wrong interpretations also floated in the internet. That's bad part of having too much
Exactly.
information. So one need to be careful when you are doing research. Go for the original Surya Siddhanta, Laghu Siddhanta, those type of document. And the good part is there are a lot of English translations are also available. And my whole purpose of my book writing in English to make it broader available to the broader audience so that they can understand and get encouraged to do their own research. Not just simple Google search or Chat GPT search, but the real research and take some effort to learn.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody has to become expert in Sanskrit today, but by start learning. I'll give my personal experience when I was learning. I'm not a Sanskrit student. I'm an engineering, computer science background person by nature. But when I started doing research, I came to a very interesting fact about how the weekday names had come to existence. And the only sure shot proof in the entire world that can authenticity come with that is in the Surya Siddhanta and the Vedic timekeeping Siddhantas, which had shown that one has to arrange the grahas, known grahas back then, the seven, in the order of their speed. And then you have to, because the day and night is ahoratra, it is made up of 8 prahars, the 4 prahars of a day and 4 prahars of a night. In this shloka, in one two-line shloka, that explain how the 7 weekdays came to existence. That's how the knowledge power of a Sanskrit language I discovered. Like within 2 sentences, they could explain the entire concept of weekdays naming. You start with the slowest graha, which is not planet by the way, Shani, which is Saturn, and you skip to the fourth order of skipping to the fourth one is the next day, which happens to be then sun, which is Sunday. Then you skip 4 days, four cycle in that order of speed, then it comes Monday and it repeats. So that awareness, I was amazed to learn that like what one can learn in just 2 language. Of course, I had to get the help with translation, and there was some English interpretation and like that. But having the discovery of knowing how it was explained nicely, there is no other explanation anywhere. And I not only research, I talked to a lot of timekeeping experts around the world to get to know, to confirm. So it was an interesting experience for me. I believe it could be interesting experience for any interesting person to do the research and learn. And there are a lot of hidden gems in that, which are amazing, fascinating stories in about timekeeping science, astronomical based timekeeping science, and that why somebody needs to study this, because the current timekeeping system, including Gregorian one or anyone, it is about Earth timekeeping. Uh, Position anybody for anybody who is living on Earth, this current time system is Earth centric. It cannot be applicable when
Hmm.
we say settle on moon or Mars or any other place in galaxy.
Yeah.
We'll have to create a new one. So why not take the best one that is
Mm.
there and make it adaptable based on the new location, which it provides the framework.
Okay. Okay. I think we'll leave it there, and I think there is Sanjeev Ji's book, which again, the name of it, The Introduction to Calendar Science for 22nd Century Readers. The how to obtain a copy of this, we'll have it that on the description of the video. Thank you so much again, Sanjeev Ji. Thank you for your passion and your interest in following up on such a subject. So important. And thank you to the audience for listening. Namaste and welcome.
Thank you, Payalji. Namaste.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Chitti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.